Reactions both across the aisle and across the border to President Trump's tariffs, what lawmakers and world leaders are saying, plus the impact on prices for you.
Plus, education is the focus for this year's legislative session in Texas. How Governor Greg Abbott is pushing to tackle this priority item.
And we're looking at 2 days in the 80. Will that continue over the next few days, or are we looking at a front coming in? I'll tell you all of that and so much more in your First Morning Weather.
In-depth, investigative. This is KXAN News at Noon.
New today, a few Texas Democrats gathered at a North Austin elementary school to push back against several of the governor's top priorities related to education.
That really served as a key focus for Governor Greg Abbott in his State of the State address last night. He cleared the way for lawmakers to now take a vote as soon as this week on using taxpayer dollars to pay for private school tuition. He also outlined his plan to make Texas what he called a leader in the nation for education, with 3 pillars to that. The first, empowering parents. He says schools should be designed to respond to parental concerns. Second, exemplary teachers. He says he would like the state to now pass and raise teacher salaries. The last pillar, strong academics. In his address, he said he would also like to make sure study does not, quote, focus on woke education.
We must pass school choice this session.
60% of our students are economically disadvantaged students that require more investments. And yet, rather than doing what we need to do for those 5.5 million students, we're going to create this separate voucher system and give them $10,000.
You were hearing from one of our local Democratic leaders there. They were quick to call out the governor in their response to his speech. You can watch the Democratic response on our website, KXAN.com, right now.
And today, Texas Democrats are blaming Governor Abbott for school budget shortfalls. In a press conference held this morning, House Democrats called on the governor to put more funding toward neighborhood schools instead of a school voucher-like program. They gathered at Palmer Lane Elementary to hold this news conference. This is the same place where the governor signed the school finance bill back in 2019. The Democrats are arguing the school is now at risk of closing because of funding issues.
They said that since Abbott signed the school finance bill in 2019, per-student funding is at its lowest in a decade, they say. And they say Abbott held the new funding, quote, hostage during the last legislative session.
Since then, he's championed vouchers that would take even more of our tax dollars out of our public schools. The school board ultimately did not close our schools, but to stay afloat, they were forced to make painful cuts, and their budget problems did not disappear.
In his State of the State address Sunday evening, Abbott outlined the priorities for the legislative session, including the creation of education savings accounts, declaring the program's expansion an emergency item. Coming up in about 30 minutes, we have 2 former state lawmakers joining us right here to break down the governor's priorities this session. Beyond education, we're going to talk about several issues, so stick around for that.
First Warning Weather.
We are taking a live look outside now over the Texas Capitol, where we know is lots of action going on this week, especially following the governor's State of the State. We do want to plug, you can watch that State of the State in full on our website as well. We have a transcript of it too. So in case you missed that last night, it's going to drive a lot of what's happening at that Capitol today. But for all of us, if you're stepping outside here during your lunch hour, it's going to be a little toastier than we might expect for this time of year.
Unfortunately, it looks like we may even break some records today too. Let's go and take a look at the next 5 days and where that ranks as far as temperatures are concerned. Today, 81 degrees. That's the record set back in 1911 and tied again in 2008. Wednesday's the other day I want to look at. 82 degrees set back in 1943 and hit again in 2008. And then Thursday, the record is 83 degrees, and that record was set in 1925. And it looks like those 3 are the ones that we could crack over the next couple of days. The sunshine now for pretty much everyone. just a few clouds left as you get into Bastrop and Rockdale. This is essentially the last of the cloud coverage that I'm watching. As that starts to move up, you may still see a little bit of cloud coverage here and there, but overall, this is what everyone is seeing, which is nothing but sunny skies. We're looking at temperatures right now, 77 degrees in Mason, 73 in Fredericksburg, 73 in Marble Falls, 74 in Austin, 76 in San Marcos, Lockhart at 72 degrees, Bastrop at 71 in Cameron at around 73 degrees. And for your after school forecast, temperatures should be at around the low 80s, but again, 81 is the record. Many spots will hit that. Others may even pass that as we get into the early evening hours. Clear skies, 76 degrees before the clouds start to roll back in one more time. So we'll be watching the records that I just mentioned, the warm temperatures that are here, and the weekend cold front that'll give you some relief. That's all coming up in just a moment.
Freddie, thank you so much. President Donald Trump is expected to speak with Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and a Mexican official later on today. This comes as after he imposed tariffs on imports from those countries over the weekend.
Republicans are saying these tariffs are necessary. However, Democrats argue this only hurts Americans and what they're paying. Washington correspondent Basil John reports.
Canada and Mexico are some of the U.S.'s biggest trading partners, and Americans could see higher prices soon unless something changes. President Donald Trump is facing backlash after he signed an executive order over the weekend issuing tariffs on goods coming from Canada, Mexico, and China.
We put tariffs on. They owe us a lot of money, and I'm sure they're going to pay.
Canada and Mexico responded forcefully by vowing to impose retaliatory tariffs. Canada's tariffs are slated to take effect on Tuesday.
If President Trump wants to usher in a new golden age for the United States, the better path is to partner with Canada, not to punish us.
President Trump said Americans could feel the pain from these tariffs.
We may have short-term a little pain, and people understand that.
Florida Republican Congressman Byron Donalds told News Nation this is necessary to send a message to other countries.
The risks are worth it, and the reason is because with respect to China and Mexico in particular, there is a massive amount of fentanyl coming into the United States and killing our people.
But Senate Democrat leader Chuck Schumer bashed this move by the president, calling it a Trump Super Bowl tax.
A lot of people at the Super Bowl have beer and guac. All of it comes from much of it comes from Mexico, and the prices of these things are likely to go up.
When asked if he would consider responding to Canada's retaliatory tariffs, President Trump says it was a possibility. Reporting in Washington, I'm Basil John.
Also new today, President Donald Trump and Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum said their planned tariffs are on hold for a month to give time for further negotiations. The two leaders announced the move after what Trump described on social media as a friendly conversation. Mexico also said it planned to deploy 10,000 members of its National Guard to address drug trafficking. Trump said the talks would be headed by Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Secretary of Treasury Scott Bessent, and Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick, as well as several high-level representatives from Mexico. Some Central Texans are upset about a building in Pflugerville. They say they believe it will hold migrants that Immigration and Customs Enforcement detains.
The Party for Socialism and Liberation protested Saturday outside this building in an office park. It's near Highways 130 and 45. The protests remained mostly peaceful until a sole counter-protester tried to disrupt a news conference from happening. However, that did not stop the organizers from having their voices heard.
We're not here to compare one administration to the other, only to point out that the racist, sexist, anti-immigration regimen of terror is not just the work of one administration.
This group says it now plans to focus its efforts on making sure that people know their rights.
We reached out to the Department of Homeland Security and ICE for confirmation on what's happening at this location, but we have not heard anything back yet. Governor Abbott weighed in, posting on social media, saying, quote, "The Trump administration is deporting the worst of the worst. Texas will help them do that." He went on to say, now anyone apprehended coming across the border illegally will be sent back immediately. The days of President Biden's open border policies are gone.
Coming up, a look at how medical students in Fort Worth are getting hands-on experience in caring for patients. Happy Monday, everybody, and thanks again for being with us on KXAN News at noon. We're looking live right now in Lockhart, where there's not many clouds in the sky there. Temperatures warming up already in the 70s early this afternoon. We'll get an update about what's in store for a warm week ahead with Freddie and Rich in just a few moments. Medical students at Fort Worth Independent School District are prioritizing health care for all, and they're doing so by inviting Special Olympic athletes to their campus.
These medical students are really getting valuable hands-on practice at the Texas College of Osteopathic Medicine. Most of the students there are Special Olympics athletes, and they are paired up with medical students for Project Dream Big, or Disability Rights in Medicine. This is to help medical students gain the proper bedside manners they need so that they can help any patient.
It's really learning that there are all these little niche aspects of a physical exam that individuals with disabilities might need from us that we aren't used to administering with our classmates.
Developing these skills now will help these future physicians in the years to come.
Scientists and volunteers in the Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuary are planting coral. Pretty cool video there. It marks 5 years since the sanctuary started a program to bring back coral to the area. A heat wave in the summer of 2023 devastated the coral there, killing a lot of it. The new species planted is heat resistant, so hopefully can endure some of the changing temperatures we're seeing. Pretty incredible stuff.
Yeah. Now, speaking of temperatures, this whole week, I'm blown away by the amount of 80s we're seeing on that 7-day forecast.
I know. Rich already said he's ready to just get on a boat. Put on some sunglasses, put on the lotion, the sunscreen. Yeah, just
I'm ready.
Cool.
I have been ready for a while. Ever since that 20-degree low on the 22nd of January.
You're like, get me out of here.
I'm ready to just go out to the pool when I get off work and, just lie in the chaise lounge and just get some color. Well, maybe even go in the water.
Yeah, maybe even go. This weekend, Saturday will be great to be outside. Sunday, maybe cool to gather with some friends because it's the big game that's happening. If you're ready to check out the championship game at the Caesars Superdome in New Orleans, this is what temperatures will be like out there. 79 degrees, partly cloudy, nice and cool after a front flies in. They're not the only ones that are going to have nice weather. We will here too as well as we look at your temperatures in Austin between the Chiefs and the Eagles, which you're either excited about or not very excited about. I feel like there's one or two camps here for that. 69 degrees back here at home with just a few clouds up in the sky. So make your plans. Just know that overall, even with the possibility of a light shower or two, you're going to be fine. Satellite and radar, clear skies pretty much everywhere at this point. All the clouds that we've been watching, those have all broken apart pretty quickly, might I add, over the past hour. 73 degrees in Fredericksburg right now, 79 in Mason and Llano, 71 in Burnett, Dripping Springs at around 74, Giddings at 75, LaGrange at 77, and Austin at around 74 degrees. So, sunny skies, that's going to continue throughout the rest of the day today. Clouds will come back in at around 11 p.m. and you may get a little bit of drizzle early in the morning, but I don't see very much of that actually happening. And then we'll get back to partly cloudy as we get out towards the afternoon. And it'll be rinse and repeat over the next couple of days. Tonight, 63 degrees, which is a bit warmer than what we saw a few days ago when we were down into the 40s. By Saturday, we're in the 50s and now into the 60s. And this is one of the reasons why winds coming in from the south at 5 to 10 miles per hour, high just kind of parked over. We take a look at your high temperatures, 82, 81, 83, all the way up to 85 degrees as we get out towards Saturday. Tuesday, Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, those are going to be the days that we have to watch because we could tie or break those records that we see there. And then a front comes in that'll take our temperatures back down to 69. But you'll notice still above average, 65 to 69. So the warmth just really not moving at all. And we're just left in just this heat, unfortunately, over the next few days. So no changes here. No real big, massive rain chances either. It's not until we get to Saturday and Sunday where temperatures drop. Your lows will be back down into the 50s, but your mornings are going to be nice for morning jogs, so walk with the dog, anything of the sort. Hey, speaking of what weather is like and what it has been, let's send it over to Rich Siegel with a look at January. It's a recap.
Always best to look back to see what did happen in the previous month, and the final numbers did finally come out on Saturday night into Sunday. The numbers bear in mind that January, which is typically the coldest month of the year, certainly lived up to its billing with an average high 6 degrees below what is normal, with an average of 56.5. The highest, we made it to 70 on the 5th. Coldest was 20 on the 22nd, contributing to the average low of 37.5, which is 4.5 below normal. So final number for January, 46.9, 5.3 below normal. We did not get our full amount of rain, 76% of it, with a total rain of 2.01 and 0.4 of an inch of snow on the 21st. The airport had 0.3. Some of the other cities that do keep statistical information for us, we generally range from 43 to 47 degrees for average temperatures across the entire region. So the final number was that the temperature of 46.9 turned out to be tied for the 23rd coldest January on record, 49th wettest, so kind of a ho-hum month, 49 wettest with that total rainfall of 2.01. We'll delve into February here in the next couple of days. Avery?
Rich, thank you. KXAN investigators are discovering new complaints about Texas toll roads and billing for them. Coming up, we're going to investigate the transition for text tag and also talk to lawmakers about why some drivers are still seeing hiccups in their billing.
Last week, we revealed 60% of text tag users were not transferred to a new operator, the Harris County Toll Road Authority. Millions of dollars are still owed to many drivers. Since then, you've sent us dozens of emails and social media comments, and we are hearing about people trying to get their bills straight during this switch, and plenty of praise for the new payment and customer service system.
Matt Grant reports some state lawmakers are also taking note of our investigation. This as the head of TxDOT defends how his agency has handled this process.
When Mike Stratton racked up more than $1,000 in toll bills and late fees, he refused to pay.
So why not just pay it?
I don't know it. I'm a disabled veteran. I earned that right. And I'm not going to pay something that I'm not supposed to be paying.
As a disabled Vietnam veteran, Stratton is able to drive some toll roads for free. But a mix-up with another operator labeled him a habitual violator and turned over to collections. Then Stratton discovered another problem. TxTag said his account, like 1.4 million others, wouldn't be transferred to Hectra because it wasn't in good standing.
Do you worry that there are more people like Mike Stratton out there?
Well, with all customers and with the gentleman that you've talked about, we certainly want to make sure that we can accommodate what the issues are with their particular account.
TxDOT Executive Director Mark Williams says his agency will look into Stratton's case, but defended the overall transition, including the decision not to transfer every TxTag account to Hectra.
Many of those are just dormant accounts that haven't been used in months, if not years. We don't want to transition that customer and those issues over to Hectra and have them have to try to sort through and resolve that. We feel that that's best for us and to serve those customers to reach out and resolve those issues.
He says the switch eases the customer experience and saves the state money.
If this is such a benefit, why not do it sooner?
It is something that we have to be very deliberate about. When we're talking about transitioning millions of different accounts, you can imagine that that's not something that you just want to rush through.
So this transition is something you want to keep an eye on?
Yeah, absolutely, because it's causing an inconvenience for the people.
State lawmakers like Senator Bob Hall are watching. Filing SB 137, Hall aims to standardize billing procedures and fees across all toll authorities, capping late fees under $50 a year.
A lot of the problems people have in paying their bills come from the toll companies because of their mismailing of the bills to them. So we're going to fix that.
Right now, the state can block habitual toll violators' vehicle registration and eventually suspend their license, something Hall once stopped.
To have a criminal penalty for being late and paying a toll road, I just think is absurd.
You think blocking them from re-registering their vehicle goes too far?
Yes, that's really going way too far.
And for Stratton and other qualifying veterans to get the toll exemption they've earned, they must sign up individually with different toll road authorities instead of just registering once.
Do you think that process should be streamlined?
Yes, that's when government needs to step in and say, no, we need to protect our veterans.
So something you'd be willing to look into?
We will be looking into that.
I'm glad that all this did stir that up to where now maybe we can get something done.
At least 2 other senators on the Transportation Committee are looking into this. Senator Nathan Johnson's office says they want to study the Hector transition, calling what we found a significant concern. At the Capitol, Matt Grant, KXAN Investigates.
Matt, thank you so much. Text tag customers who were not transferred should sign up for an easy tag or another toll transponder. As we mentioned there, many of you are reaching out to detail problems with the text tag transition. So if you're one of those people, we want to hear from you. You can email us right now at reportit@kxan.com. Still to come here on KXAN News at Noon, we heard the governor's top priorities for this legislative session in his State of the State address last night. Stick with us because we have 2 former lawmakers joining us here in the studio to get into it and break down some of those issues.
And I took a look at the different cameras across Austin, and this is the only one I could find with clouds still in there. Temperatures still starting to move back up as we start to reach the mid-70s. But how warm will it be over the next few days? And when's the relief? That's after the break.
In-depth, investigative. This is KXAN News at Noon.
Welcome back, everyone, and thanks for joining us. Governor Greg Abbott is steering Texas lawmakers towards specific issues that he would like them to tackle first. And many of them are not too surprising. We know that they have pushed for families to use taxpayer dollars for children's private schooling. And last night, he included school choice among 7 emergency items for this legislative session. This was during his State of the State address. We want to note you can watch that and also read it in full right now on our website, KXAN.com, in case you missed it. Also, in case you missed it, here is what he included in those emergency items: property tax relief, water investments, teacher pay, those education savings accounts that we mentioned, bail reform, and cybersecurity protections for the state. So much to get into today.
Truly. This afternoon, we are going to talk more about what this all means for the work that the legislature will now do with 2 of our guests here from both sides of the aisle. Dennis Bonnen is the former House Speaker and represented Southeast Texas for more than 2 decades in the Texas House. Meanwhile, over here, Mark Strama represented the Austin area in the House for 8 years. Mark and Dennis, thank you so much for being with us. We really appreciate this.
Thanks for having us.
It was certainly a big night for many Texas lawmakers out there, but I want to begin, Dennis, by talking about the importance of the governor naming these kinds of emergency items. How would those now guide what lawmakers can do at the Capitol?
So it's significant because the governor is stating to not only the legislature but the people of Texas what his priorities are. And so it's really an opportunity for him to say, these are what I, as governor of Texas, because remember, the governor doesn't get to file legislation.
Right.
He's relying on a House member and a Senate member to do that. So he's showing the partnership with the legislature. As you noticed in his speech, he did a great job of calling out House and Senate members. He says, I'm working on this priority, and I'm working with Senator X and Representative Y to do so. So it's the opportunity for the governor to lay out his priorities to the legislature and, more importantly, to the people of Texas, and show the partnership that he's building with the members of the House and Senate to move these priorities forward.
There's also, Mark, a procedural element here. He actually has to kind of signal to the House that they can, or the House and the Senate, that they can take up some of these items. Explain that kind of background for people.
Well, it's been 10 years since I was a member, but as I recall the rules,
constitutional.
A bill can't be heard on the floor or can't pass until 60 days after the session begins, unless designated an emergency item. So in addition to giving a speech, he no doubt had to sign some formal documentation declaring those issues emergencies so that they're eligible for consideration in the earliest days of the legislative session.
Which is an interesting piece that a lot of times people beat on the House and say, why they haven't passed this? Why didn't the House get to work and do that? Constitutionally, this weird little thing called the Constitution is why they're not doing
that old thing.
Exactly, and people look right past that and take their shots and what have you.
And in fairness, the House is still constituting itself. They don't even have committee chairmanships yet.
Right.
They don't have committee appointments yet.
Correct.
So the House really can't consider legislation, even emergency items, until it's had a little more time to get itself organized. The Senate gets to hit the ground running because the lieutenant governor is the presiding officer from day one by election of the people of Texas. The Speaker has to be be selected on the first day of session and then need some time to appoint committees.
Yeah, things still baking here. We know we're so early on. We do want to get into the substance of his speech. We know many of those emergency items are really familiar territory for lawmakers. So to either of you, what, if anything, surprised you? What jumped out that maybe you weren't expecting him to touch on?
I wasn't surprised.
Yeah.
And hey, that's an answer too.
The whole point of it, yeah.
Which actually Governor Abbott deserves credit for that too. I mean, the governor's been talking about these issues as priorities for over a year. I mean, the governor's done a great job of communicating what's important to him to the people of Texas. Now, this was not a surprise, but I think it's something that people aren't talking a lot about that's hugely important. So we're talking about property tax relief. And so the governor says, I want property tax relief. We're going to do more and we're going to do better. $10 billion. That all sounds wonderful. That isn't the headline, in my opinion. The headline is we've got to rein in local entities like our school districts passing bonds and what have you, so that that property tax relief that has already been done in the billions of dollars by the legislature and the governor for many years before now, and to do another $10 billion, he made the huge point. I want a 75% vote. I want a 2/3 vote of the people to raise any local property tax. That, I think, is a huge item. It's an important item because the reality is the legislature has been spending billions to reduce property taxes, while on the local level they raise those taxes, and the local taxpayer never feels the impact of the dollars being spent by the legislature, and somewhat creates a double taxation.
I want to follow up with you there. We wanted to ask about this. We know we saw voter-approved initiatives in certain municipalities. Here in Austin and Travis County, voters approved funding for more affordable child care options, and that would, of course, raise taxes. So how do you balance things that voters in certain areas of Texas want with this effort to cut taxes across the state?
I think what the governor's saying is it better be the highest of priority and their voters better desire it beyond the property tax reduction that the state legislature and he enacted. And so I think the goal is that full awareness of the voting public. That better be your priority. You better be able to get a supermajority to be able to put that into place in the local entity. And honestly, I think he's far more focused in what's happening at the local school districts with bond elections and things of that sort. That's what's eating up the most. People aren't aware of this, but local ISDs have passed 75 plus B with $1 billion of bonds in the last 5 years.
So I'm on the board of the United Way for Greater Austin. We were very involved in that initiative for childcare, and it did not get 2/3. It came close to, I think it got around 60% of the vote.
Right.
And to say that that's not a mandate from the people of Travis County to invest in childcare, which is one of the critical drivers of affordability in this community, I think that's bad public policy. Look, there was a bunch, I will agree with what Dennis said. The governor deserves credit. He told us what he wants, and his agenda yesterday is what he said he would do. I think there's a few areas where I think there were some notable omissions. He talks about over the past 4 years, we've had a 35% increase in the power generation capacity on the grid. According to ERCOT, 92% of that increase comes from wind, solar, and battery storage. That's an omission that I think if we acknowledged what we are doing, what we're actually achieving in this state while he's governor, we could really lead the energy transition that is occurring all around us. He talked about, he actually said in the speech that per pupil student spending has never been higher, and on a nominal dollars basis, I think that's true, but on a real dollars basis, according to the Legislative Budget Board's fiscal size up, we're spending $1,300 less per pupil than we spent when you were Speaker of the House in the 2019-2020 academic year. We've lost $1,300 in buying power per student. Imagine, as a parent, what your child's school could do with an extra $1,300 to educate your child.
Yeah, we heard some of the House Democrats today in their rebuttal to the State of the State address some of those concerns. I want to stick with education, though, really quickly, because that is likely to be the marquee issue of this particular session. So as we're waiting for the Senate to even take a vote tomorrow on potentially passing education savings accounts, I'm wondering, because both of you served in the House, what is your expectation this time around, because the House has really been that stopgap preventing this from passing in years past? So I'll let you start, Dennis.
I believe Speaker Burrows is committed to getting school choice passed in the House. Governor Abbott declared it as his priority 2 years ago. He forewarned everyone and said, if you don't vote for it, I'm going to come and see you in your elections, in your communities. And he actually did that. And
in some cases that worked, yeah.
That's right. He had success. And so, votes matter. And so the Texas House has a different makeup this time because of the activities of the governor and others in those primaries, as they said they were going to do. And so I believe the votes are there in the Texas House to pass school choice. And I honestly think that it's in the best interest of the House. I agree with the policy, but also it's not good for the Texas House and the Senate to be at war with the #1 priority of the governor of Texas, especially an incredibly popular governor like Governor Abbott, who's done a great job. So the House has the votes, in my opinion, and they're going to pass school choice when it's their turn. And as you mentioned, the Senate's going to probably pass it tomorrow and have it over there sooner than ever, before they can even constitutionally do it without even a committee.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're prognosticating, I'm going to guess it's going to pass too. The question will be how the breadth of its scope. But the truth is, I don't know how that became the #1 priority of anybody looking at the needs in public education in our state. We've had choice in Texas for a long time through charter schools. Here in AISD, students, parents can choose any school in the AISD school system that they want to go to if there's capacity in it. So we've introduced the concept of competition and accountability to the public schools for a long time. Somehow or other, it has not been the magical panacea to solving the difficulties our schools face. Perhaps what's challenging our schools is the fact that we spend $4,400 less than the national average per student. Even if we got back that $1,300 just to get us to parity with where we were 5 years ago, we're still, right now, $4,400 below the national average per pupil spending.
We got to recover from Biden's inflation on that $1,300, and I think there's a plan to do
Which is why I was so surprised the governor neglected to account for that inflation that he has otherwise talked about frequently.
Lots of things we can get into. I do want to ask you all one more question here before we go. This was not something listed as one of the emergency items that we've been discussing, but there was quite a focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion. We know that this is something that really made headlines last week with an executive order from the governor's office. He noted banning, DEI from any entity that receives money from the state. So I think a lot of the questions we've gotten from our audience is, what would that mean in practice? What does that really look like?
The line that stood out to me in the speech was banning DEI from public education.
Right,
and
K through 12.
And I was thinking, didn't we just do that with the CRT bill that Brian Hughes authored 3 or 4 years ago? Honestly, as a practical matter, to answer your question, I'm not sure what it affects. The Supreme Court has already outlawed affirmative action. We had that anti-CRT bill, which, even Democrats said this is a dumb bill because we don't do CRT in K through 12 education. So, I'm at a loss for actually what problem is trying to be solved.
I think what he's talking about, and he said it in his speech, a teacher who says some of these things should be fired immediately. Governor Abbott said that yesterday. I think the policies are in place. I think the challenges are the policies being effectively implemented. Are they being followed? Are we abiding by these policies? And so I think the governor, again, you have to remember, the governor has the bully pulpit. He has the power of his voice. And the State of the State is one of the most powerful moments for the governor to have his voice be heard by the people of Texas. And so I think yesterday what he's saying is bills have been passed, but we're not going to continue to have people ignoring what has been stated is necessary in our education system and across state government.
So this is a good chance to come full circle to when we were talking about his desire to make local entities have to get 66% of the voters to approve a tax increase. At some point, the governor is entitled to an opinion about whether a teacher ought to be fired, but the governor should not be firing teachers. Local school districts exist for a reason. We can't govern everything from Austin. And this desire to replace local choice and local empowerment with mandates from Austin seems contrary to what I always thought conservatives said.
Well, I think the governor clearly doesn't have the ability to fire a teacher, but he has the ability of that bully pulpit to let local districts know you need to be following the law. You need to quit doing this indoctrination. And if you have people that are doing it, you should solve that problem.
So much. I wish we could keep you guys here for the rest of the show. We didn't even get to water infrastructure, bail reform. Thankfully, we want to let our audience know that Dennis and Mark will be joining us throughout the legislative session to try to make sense of the moves that are happening at the Capitol. And we want to catch up on some of those other giant issues too. But Dennis and Mark, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. We want to get over to Freddie for a look outside.
Yeah, as we take a look at your departure from normal, we're expecting warmer than normal conditions, but as we get closer to the weekend, cooling off. More details after the break.
Welcome back, everybody. A beautiful live look from our KXAN weather cam, but Freddie and Rich are telling us you may want to break out the short sleeves, maybe even the tank top if you can believe it. They're going to have more on your temperatures coming up in our full forecast in a bit.
Not necessarily a suit day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Will. All right, we want to turn now to an incredible story. A baby in New York is beating the odds thanks to some groundbreaking technology. The boy was diagnosed with a heart condition that's very rare while he was in the womb and needed a pacemaker to survive.
But since he was too small, doctors created an unusual device fit for his little body. Rana Navini has little Mikey's story.
You're all right, bud. This is a crucial assessment for 2-month-old Mikey. Tiny sensors measure each heartbeat. The faint scars on his chest, a reminder of the major surgery he underwent just over a month ago. Doctors at Hassenfeld Children's Hospital at NYU Langone performed a rare procedure to outfit Mikey with the world's smallest pacemaker.
I really can't thank them enough for what they did.
Long Island mom Sarah Oliveri says when she and her husband discovered they were having their third boy, they were thrilled. But during a 20-week ultrasound, doctors noticed the baby's heart rate was dangerously low.
It was hard to hear that there potentially could be something wrong with his heart.
Throughout the pregnancy, we've noticed that his heart rate has started to go down more.
Dr. Raina Tan says Mikey had a rare and dangerous heart condition, a complete heart block that would require a pacemaker.
The current devices that are approved for use is pretty big, and so for a baby that's less than 2 kilos, it is quite difficult to put like a big device into that belly, and so typically we would wait.
But Mikey didn't have time to wait. Instead, doctors sought emergency approval for a pacemaker the size of a large vitamin, a leap of faith for the Oliveri family.
I can't honestly say I wasn't a little bit concerned, but again, we trusted these people.
Mikey is one of just 52 babies who've received this tiny device in the United States, and he's the first in the tri-state.
When Mikey's 4, he'll get a new, larger pacemaker, something he'll need for the rest of his life.
Does he need to have an echo before that?
No.
Wow, look at you. Just knowing that he's doing so much better and that he doesn't need to be at a cardiologist every single week is a blessing.
For now, he's spending his days out of the hospital and home, bonding with his older brothers. His parents grateful for the medical teamwork to make Mikey's heart strong.
We just want him to be able to live a normal life, which he's going to be able to do thanks to the people here.
All right, everyone. So we know that yesterday was Groundhog Day. Did Phil see his shadow? Well, the short answer is yes, and that means that we're expecting 6 more weeks of winter. However, on the flip side, Bee Cave Bob actually said that, you know, it's actually going to be an early spring. So believe which animal you will, but we know that as far as the 8 to 14-day outlook for ourselves, we're looking at cooler than normal temperatures for Austin and the rest of the state of Texas. Why? Well, we have a front that's coming in on Saturday going into Sunday, which will definitely help out temperatures overall. Because remember, we're going to be in the 80s, 85 degrees, 86 degrees as we get out towards Saturday, going closer into Sunday. So with that front coming in Saturday into Sunday morning, that'll drive down our temperatures, thankfully, and at least get us closer to average, even though we're not going to hit it. And of course, we do expect for maybe a passing shower or two for the big game itself. All right, let's take a look at satellite and radar for what's happening over the past couple of hours. All those clouds gone now. We're seeing clear skies. We zoom out a bit more, and you notice that overall it's pretty much all the state that's dealing with this. Temperatures down, already moving up into the upper 70s. We have some 80s on the list now. Llano, Mason, San Saba, 80 to 82 degrees. Who's close next? That'd be Marble Falls. They're at 79 degrees. Then we have some 77s, Giddings, and farther down towards the south, 76s to get to Lockhart and San Marcos. So we play this out over the next couple of days. Again, we're expecting almost a rinse and repeat with clear skies during the afternoon, clouds roll in at night. Tomorrow, a little different, though, because we may get a little bit of drizzle early in the morning, but then we're back to the pattern again of clearing skies, clouds at night, and overall that should continue as we go throughout the next few days. Hiking forecast as we get to about 4 p.m. We're looking at to 5. We're looking at about 79 to 81 degrees out there. So that might be the only point where you may get a little bit warm. Everywhere else looks like it should be okay. As we look at your 7-day forecast, we're looking at temperatures staying in the 80s over the next few days. A bit more cloud coverage on Wednesday, but then it breaks apart a bit more on Thursday, clearing up. By the time we get to Saturday, 85 degrees. The front comes in, temperatures back down to 69 degrees.
Freddie, thanks so much. Here's a look at what's coming up tonight on KXAN. At 7 o'clock, it's The Voice, followed by The Hunting Party at 9. Join us for more news on KXAN News at 10.
Before we go, let's take one last look at your out-the-door forecast. Temperatures expected to move to about 81 degrees by 3 p.m. By 5 p.m., 79 degrees, and then we're down into the 60s. 7-day forecast, keeping us in the 80s. But remember, record temperatures could be broken. Overall for Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. As we look ahead, a front moves in Saturday into Sunday, driving down our temperatures, and by Sunday, 69 degrees.
I keep thinking that's the wrong 7-day graphic, but it is correct. That is what we're
kicking off February in the 80s pretty much for that first week.
It's been weird. We've been so used to seeing such cold temperatures, rain chances, holidays, and now it's just normal and back up to the 80s. Yeah.
But wait. There's an entire month to go through.
That's right, yes.
We're just at the beginning. Even though January felt like it stretched on forever. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But, you know, even as we get into Sunday, we may still see a shower or two, but overall it shouldn't disrupt any plans for the big game. Rich, are you ready for your big party?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, he's like, don't get ahead of yourself.
Do you have plans for Sunday?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
I'm giving a talk to a group of people, and then I'm going to a friend's house for football and fajitas.
Here's what I can't wait for is Monday morning. The next morning, I want to hear Erica, who's rooting for the Chiefs, face off with Rich.
They will be working together on Monday.
That's
Depends
good TV.
on the outcome.
That's good television.
If the Eagles win, you may not see me until Wednesday.
Suddenly feeling very sick. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. We will see you back here in about half an hour. Enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.